All right. I know it's rather late, but I feel like I owe it to the people that watch this, as few as they may be, to put out a video every day to summarize the news of the day. So, TDS Queen here, as usual, with the things that have irritated the crap out of me today. Number one on the list, the 500,000 at least that these 8 Republicans are going to basically created a bill to pay themselves. I mentioned this in another video, but today they had a chance to do unanimous consent, and who was against that? I think it was Lindsey Graham, I'm not 100% sure, but oh my god. They actually put a provision, and the reason they're doing this and even getting this is because their numbers showed up. They weren't wiretapped. There was nothing illegal going on. The January 6th investigation wanted to know what phone calls were being made from whom to whom in the day before January 6th, on January 6th, and the day after. They wanted to see who might have been involved with this on the inside. Who were they talking to? Were they calling Trump? Were they texting Trump? Whatever, in communication with each other. That was the point. It was an ongoing investigation, a legal investigation, and the only thing out there was their phone numbers. Okay, that's it. They didn't endure pain and suffering and how horrible. They weren't wiretapped. There was nothing illegal about it. They created a bill to pay themselves. Do not understand how freaking corrupt that is. And they even revoked any defense that the DOJ or taxpayer can assert. So it becomes a direct payment to them. And $500,000 is just the minimum they can ask for. They can go millions of dollars, as Lindsey Graham said he was going to do. I'm going to make this so painful they never do it again. Never do what? Try to follow the law? Try to investigate you? I don't understand. Never do what? Now, this isn't really in any particular order, so I'm going to do the best I can, because the next thing is really like the most appalling one of them all, is the video that the senators came out with telling the Army and armed forces in general to don't follow unlawful orders. Okay? That's all that they said. They didn't say don't follow unlawful orders from Trump. They didn't say don't follow any orders. They didn't say don't follow lawful orders. They basically just stated something that they all had to reiterate when they signed up, was that they would follow the Constitution and never follow unlawful orders. They're basically just restating a fact. Don't follow unlawful orders. Because of what's going on in the Caribbean right now with these bombings, I mean, a JAG lawyer of Southern Command said this amounts to extrajudicial killings, things that people can face a war tribunal for, crimes, and go to big boy armed forces prison. And I mean, this is like the same things as in the Nazis saying, well, I was just following orders. They won't be able to claim they were just following orders. The person that, flew the drone that killed somebody in the Caribbean that, could have just been an innocent fisherman can't just say that they're following orders and get away with it. That's the whole point. And when he brought that up, you know who vetoed him and knocked it down? Freaking Pam Bondi, of course, because she's like, no, there's nothing wrong with this. So then Trump comes out and Truth Socials that these Democrats, this is seditious speak and this is treason. And then he reposted these right-wing crazy with, Nazi symbols in their names. They should all be hanged. That's what George Washington would do. Dude, the violent rhetoric, I am so sick of that. And saying that it's coming from the left, which leads me to a sidebar, right? Because I just saw this story in the, it was on UPI. And it's like, of course, former congressional staffer accused of fake attack on her. Like, unbelievable. This story is just unbelievable. Okay. A former congressional staff member has been accused of faking a violent attack on her in a New Jersey park. Natalie Green, 26, allegedly paid a body modification artist to etch wounds onto her skin and then claimed she'd been assaulted in a politically motivated attack. Green of Ocean City, New Jersey, has been charged with one count of conspiracy to convey false statements and hoaxes, one count of making false statements to federal law enforcement. Green previously worked for Representative Jeff Van Drew, Republican, New Jersey. This is what his office said. We are deeply saddened by today's news. And while Natalie is no longer associated with the congressman's government office, our thoughts and prayers are with her. We hope she's getting the care she needs. Yeah, that was before they figured out it was a freaking hoax. Prosecutors allege that Green had an accomplice call 911 claiming they had been attacked by 3 armed men at Egg Harbor Township State Park. Police located Green in a wooded area bound with zip ties with lacerations on her head and chest, according to criminal complaint. A sexual slur referencing President Donald Trump and a statement calling her former employee a racist were written on her stomach, according to photos from the alleged crime scene. The investigation revealed that Green had not, in fact, been attacked by 3 men. Instead, Green had paid a modification and scarification artist to deliberately cut the lacerations on her face, neck, upper chest, and shoulder based on a pattern she had provided beforehand. Listen how dumb this person is. World's dumbest criminals. Law enforcement agents who investigated the incident said they found zip ties in Green's car similar to the ones used in the alleged attack. How dumb are you? Investigators also found a zip ties near me search on her co-conspirator's phone. Really? A search of Green's phone found messages with a body modification artist in Pennsylvania who gave police $500 in receipts for the scarring and apparent injuries he did for Green. Her phone also allegedly showed a Reddit profile that followed posts for body mods and scarification. Look how far these crazy people are willing to go to frame the fact that the left is violent. $500? You are permanently scarred, you idiot. Oh my God. You had somebody cut into your skin for $500 to scar you up, to make it look like somebody from the left attacked you over the Epstein stuff. That is sick. That is sick. Oh my God. I couldn't believe it when I read that. I could not believe it. I hope they show that on Midas Touch, because I just saw that and that was not covered on there. So that would be a me exclusive. So yeah, Donald Trump coming out and saying that violent crap is stuff that can actually lead to, like, for real stuff like this, though. Now, Schumer came out and said that he had to have deep protection detail for all those people in that video, because we all know what happens when Donald Trump blows his little dog whistle to his craziest of supporters. They get violent. And he knows they do that too. That's why he does it. And if something were to happen to them, they know that they'll just get pardoned. So it's like a free pass to just be as violent and crazy as you want. It's just, ugh. Yee. So yeah, that was the death thing. I mean, when they called her out on it, when Caroline Leavitt got asked about it, when they were saying, like, hey, you know, do you think that that's wrong that he told, you know, basically reposted that these people should be hung? She tries to lie and says, they said not to follow lawful orders. And then the reporter, thank God, pointed out, no, that's not what they said. They said unlawful orders. And this is what she said. Well, they're suggesting that Trump is giving unlawful orders. No, they didn't suggest that, okay? They didn't say that at all, okay? You want to infer that from that? Fine. But they are just stating that they follow the law. That was it, okay? And the next thing was, oh my gosh, when she came out and said the shutdown showed us that we don't need the Department of Education anymore, because while the government was shut down, the schools ran just fine. How stupid are you, Caroline Leavitt, okay? The states run the schools. That has nothing to do with the Department of Education. It has nothing to do with schools being in session day to day and the daily runnings and classroom teachings and kids getting to and from class. Yeah, of course that run like clockwork. That's the states that do it. You absolute utter moron. What the Department of Education does, they provide meals for kids. They provide services for disabled students. They provide anti-discrimination. They make sure that doesn't happen. They do student loans. They do equality and inclusiveness. So yes, please, let's take that away. How can we harm children more? Because cruelty is the point of this administration. Let's starve children. Let's take away their meals. Let's take away, maybe some Funding for disabled students, let's just go back 70 years because that's what they want. It's just, ugh. And the little blip of swastikas and nooses are no longer considered hate speech. And when a reporter tried to ask her about that, she looked right at that reporter, called on them, and when they said, "I want to ask you about hate speech, these swastikas not being classified," she goes, I was calling on Bloomberg. No, you called on them and you didn't like their question. And I'm so sick of these reporters, because if I had been the next reporter, I would have asked that same dang question. We cannot continue to normalize this. I mean, that's something that they pointed out, I think it was on Midas Touch, is that the mainstream media, and it might have been on IHIP, has done nothing. If this was Joe Biden, he was obviously an old man. He had old man problems. You could tell that when he would talk and come out and stuff. It was front page headline news every day. Joe Biden's decline. Joe Biden's mental decline. Is it he's too old to be president? Blah, blah, blah. They don't say a peep about the speeches that Trump gives, the rambling speeches. I don't even like to say his name. It leaves an icky taste in my mouth. The rambling speeches that he gives, and the obvious dementia that he has, his obvious flailing and failing health. They say nothing. They put together these little tidbits to, 2-3 sentences where he actually, can be coherent, and then they just cut away. And they all do it. ABC, NBC, they all do it. No, I want somebody to actually have to sit down and endure an entire speech of his. If you find the transcripts for some of his stuff, to read it, you feel like you're in an insane person's mind. Nothing makes sense. Nothing wraps up together at the end like he likes to say. It is straight just word diarrhea. That's all that it is. He does not make sense. He'll go off on tangents. I mean, even when he has a teleprompter, he'll still go off on a tangent because something pops in his head. You can tell the stuff that he's watched the night before because he's obviously glued to Fox News, because his poll numbers are so bad and in the toilet, and the affordability stuff is so terrible that, of course, he comes out today and that's all he can talk about, even when he's got a freaking teleprompter in front of him, is that how awesome his approval rating is. And if somebody told him, it's always somebody with these narcissists, it's never a source you can validate or back up, they know better than that. Somebody told me that if George Washington and Abraham Lincoln were on the ticket, that I would beat him. That's how good my numbers are. That's how popular I am. Dude, get a clue. No, nobody likes you. Only the craziest of your crazies can support you now. That's it. Because we are tired of being gaslighted every single day, of them walking out there and him continuing to say, "Oh, affordability, it's a new word, this affordability word." No, it's not a new word, and no, you're not doing anything about it. We've made it the most affordable in history. Under Biden, it was totally unaffordable, the most unaffordable, highest energy, highest gas, highest inflation. All of that is lies. And I think the American people are tired of being gaslighted. It's just awful. And speaking of gaslighting, J.D. Vance going on and getting interviewed about healthcare before he could even answer the question of, what's the healthcare plan? People are worried. People are legitimately worried about losing their healthcare. What's the plan? And before he could even answer, the reporter, I forget who it was, goes, "Oh, was that meeting where Trump brought out the 2028 hats in front of Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries?" And then JD does this stupid, yeah, bro, it was, they're just being bros up there. And that's the point. You see, that's how they do this. And then he goes, yeah, it was. So here's what happens. So then he tells a story, basically, about, this is the game, right? You're worried about your health care. Let's say you're even MAGA and you're concerned about your health care. Well, J.D. Vance is going to get asked that question, but then he's going to tell a story about how he owned the libs. Okay, man, he owned those libs so hard, and he's going to make you forget, they have you so focused on hating each other instead of focused on what the actual problem is that 50,000 Americans are going to die from preventative health care if these ACA credits expire and they don't bring up another plan to deal with this. So, who cares about that? I just owned the libs. That's the whole point. It's all this gaslighting. And it shouldn't matter. We shouldn't be trying to own the libs. We're talking about healthcare, J.D. Vance. Dude, you can't stay on topic? What's your problem? It's just, dude, so weird. Ick. And same thing with the pattern of abuse and gaslighting with Trump, with how he treats reporters. He's sitting here, quiet piggy, and calling a female reporter piggy, which again, like I said last night, can you even freaking imagine Kamala doing that, Biden, Obama, anybody, even Bush, like they just would never do that. This is your president acting this way, okay? So there's the abuse, there's the abuser calling somebody piggy, and then when Caroline Leavitt is called out on it and asked why he did this, here's the gaslighting to make it normal. I think I wrote it down. Basically she's saying, you like it. He was elected for this. People like that he does this kind of stuff. It's transparent. He's so isn't it transparent that he lets you follow him around and ask him questions? No, that's his job. That's what he should do. He should be transparent to the public. And no, it's like you're doing them a favor. Do you get how that works with the abuse with narcissists? Here's the abuse, here's the gaslighting to cover it up. No, you're fine with this. I'm going to treat you like shit, but you're going to love it and you're going to be okay with it. That's what they try to do every single time he does this. It's fine. He's just like this. You love it. You do. Like, it's not normal. It's not okay. Not at all. I think I mentioned this yesterday about, Sweden saying that they choose Canada, and it's just, the way that they said, we're choosing Canada, we're choosing to stand with Canada, we're making new friends, I just realized, and they brought this up on Midas Touch, we're the bad guys now to the rest of the world. We're the North Korea and the China and the Russia, because we have the same kind of person in charge here over in America, and nobody wants to get around that kind of corruption and grift and stealing and lawlessness. No, we've become one of them. And it's just disgusting and sickening and so sad and disheartening that we're like this now. And I'm really hoping that the countries can see past that. The leader is not the people. We don't like this. We don't want this. We're not in support of this at all. And I hope that when he goes away, because eventually he will in one way, shape, or form. Let's get real. I know everybody likes to catastrophize and say he's going to start wars, so there's no vote and this. People will get so enraged. He will go away. One way or another. Somebody in the Secret Service will pull him out of there. Something will happen. There's just got to be enough good people left. I can't be that much of a pessimist yet. I'm still an optimist for the time being. I have to believe he will go away, because otherwise, why even get up tomorrow? He will eventually go away. Let's just keep telling ourselves this. He will eventually go away. He will eventually go away. And I hope that the countries will come back when he does, because this is not America. This is not what America. He does not represent America at all. This is not who we are as Americans, not at all. But the fact that while Sweden is acting like a regular country and choosing Canada, and they're all getting along, and the rest of Europe is coming to Ukraine's help, and Trump is fronting plans that basically give Ukraine over to Russia, or the area that they wanted, and making all these concessions for Russia, he's in the Oval Office with the Saudi prince, like I mentioned yesterday, the guy who murdered a journalist and dipped his body in acid after dismembering him. That's his buddy. That's who's in the Oval Office. The one who, and the, what was the other one? The Syrian president, the people that funded 9/11 and terrorism, and the Syrian president who had a $10 million bounty on his head from the United States. Like, that's got to piss some people off, okay? That's not America first. I mean, he's showing off his wonderful scents and cologne and spraying this guy and sniffing him. And when Caroline Leavitt went on this woman's show, I didn't ever even seen this person before, but that's what she said. He's just showing off his wonderful scents. He's very generous. Ugh, come on. Most ungenerous man I've ever seen in my life. He just probably doesn't that smell good. Would you like to buy some? That's his idea of that. That's got nothing to do with he wants to smell people and he's generous. He probably wants to make a buck. If I ever saw a con man ever in my life. But yeah, that was when he was splashing the Syrian president with cologne. Biden brought Sweden into NATO. Trump sniffs a guy who had a $10 million bounty on his head as the head of Al Qaeda. Like, I mean, come on. Is that apples and oranges? Dude. And with the Saudi prince again, like I said, he threw him this lavish dinner. And this is what he said. He was positively giddy. And it was sick. He said, I just want to say, it's an honor being your friend. Oh, is it? Is it an honor being the friend of the Saudi prince? I asked him outside of Trump because I blow everybody away. Because of course you do, you effing narcissist. Who is the best president for Saudi Arabia? And the Saudi says, oh, it's another league, sir. Like, kiss the cheeks just like everybody else, right? Of course he's the best for Saudi Arabia. He's not holding them accountable for anything. He is grifting off of any chance he can, taking all these lavish gifts. Like I said, he is not America first. Biden didn't give $40 billion to Argentina, okay, regardless of how you feel about him. And I will end with this, because I never really spoke about the huge problem I have with the corruption in this, because he's doing it in plain sight, so everybody thinks that it's just fine. But I found this article from 2016 about Obama. And first off, okay, this is called the emolument clause. It is here for a reason, okay? It is to avoid the look and ethics violation of a president accepting gifts from foreign companies for like a pay to play, you know, like, oh, you bring me this and maybe I lower your tariff. So you bring me this, I let you build a base in our country. Like, this has already happened, okay? These are the things that Trump has taken already, okay? They just do it that, you know, he could do this if he just would get congressional approval. You're allowed to accept gifts if Congress approves of them, right? So as to not look like you're violating ethics. He could do that. Congress is in his pocket. You know, they're not going to say no. But no, he just does it. And, you know, he at least appear to be following the law. But no, he just wants to be illegal right out in public. These are the things that he's gotten so far. A $400 million jet, obviously, from Qatar, which $1 billion are going to go to retrofit that of taxpayer money. 2 Trump portraits from Putin, ick. Golf clubs from Japan, special ones. A gold crown from South Korea. Boy, they really know how to play him like a fiddle, don't they? Those countries are smart. They know if they give him shower him with presents and, you know, smooch the booty cheeks, that he will basically give them whatever he wants. Because with a narcissist, love is transactional. Relationships are transactional. That always, 100%. And then the Rolex desk clock. See, I knew I remember the name of that company. And a gold bar from Switzerland. Before people say, well, Obama got gifts, you know what? Yes, he did. He did get gifts. But he turned them over like he legally is supposed to the National Archives. Okay? Do you think Trump's going to do that? You think he's going to turn them over? All right? And I'll leave you with this article that I found. Because night and day, this is how I want you to realize what the mainstream media has become. And this is why you can only trust independent things like this, Midas Touch, IHIP. Because we actually will sit here and do the research from reputable sources that are not one side or the other, that are not, you know, cozying up to Donald Trump or whatever. But this was from February of 2016, and I want you to see the difference with how they treated Obama versus the way that they treat Trump, okay? President Barack Obama hosted his hometown Chicago Blackhawks at the White House on Thursday, feting the hockey players for their 2015 Stanley Cup victory. Basically, he got the best gift I've ever gotten at the White House, a parking pass. It's not only good for Blackhawks games, but for any event at the United Center, for you and your family. He got it from Ritz, the guy from the Blackhawks. And Obama said, oh, this is really cool. Oh, it has to reload, you stinking iPad. All right, hold on. And of course, I'm in the basement. Well, anyway, before it reloads, the gist of it was that he got this parking pass and it's supposed to be good forever and whatever. And, okay, now it reloaded. This is really cool, Obama responded, tucking the placard into his pocket. You'd pay for this, wouldn't you? I might sell this on eBay. Not so fast, Mr. President, it says. For the most powerful man in the world, accepting just any gift doesn't happen in a pinch. And oftentimes, particularly with the most luxe and lavish loot, the commander-in-chief isn't keeping it. That's because a host of federal laws and regulations put stipulations on what happens to presents for the president. In order to accept a token, there are 2 issues at play. Who's giving the gift and how much is it worth? If it's a foreign dignitary, like the freaking Qatar, the Constitution bars the president or any federal employee from receiving presents without the consent of Congress. Congress has generally allowed for accepting gifts of minimal value from foreign governments as a sign of courtesy. Refusing them may cause offensive embarrassment and ultimately sour relations. Minimal value, which is revised every 3 years, was pegged at no more than $375 in 2014. But foreign leaders tend and want to give items that are worth more than that, a lot more. According to annual listing of gifts from foreign dignitaries to various federal officials, oil-rich Saudi Arabia has routinely bestowed the most blinged-out, opulent ornaments. In 2014, the late Saudi king handed over 6 presents worth more than 1.3 million. That includes men's gold and silver wristwatch, 18 grand, blah, 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 diamond and pearl jewelry set, blah, blah, blah. The jewelry can't be pocketed by the president or his family unless they're willing to pay for it at fair market value, seen as a way to cast off bribery allegations. Records show Obama hasn't been buying any of his gifts. Democratic presidential contender Hillary Clinton did purchase a black pearl necklace, valued at almost $1,000, given to her by Myanmar opposition leader, while she was Secretary of State. When gifts aren't bought, they're considered property of the United States and are cataloged by the National Archives and Records. From there, many of the pieces are eventually included in a presidential library museum collection. Yeah, we'll see. We shall see where they go. Some of the items, however, go through the Secret Service before they're passed on to the appropriate government arm. Alrighty, it talks about wine being given to Secret Service, blah, blah, blah. Ethics guidelines suggest the gift either be given to charity, shared with the office, or destroyed. One notable keepsake that's permitted, however, is the Nobel Prize, which the Congressional Research Service is handed out by a private foundation and therefore not considered to be a gift. Obama, who won a Nobel Peace Prize in 2009, and doesn't that just burn you up, Trump, doesn't it? Because he lives rent-free in your head, doesn't he? You will never get that Peace Prize. Ever. Never. Decided to donate the 1.4 million monetary prize to 10 charities. Foreign heads of state, the president is generally permitted to accept personal gifts from the American public, but he must disclose the gift in financial disclosure reports when it exceeds a $350 value, meant to show transparency. What happened to the most transparent administration in history, I tell you? Obama said he received no gifts according to last year's disclosure. So what about the official executive parking pass Obama just received from the Blackhawks? A team spokesperson told NBC News there's no monetary value attached to the pass and no expiration date. Seems the president has scored one great gift. So you see this? They were ready to pick that apart. They told you why he couldn't keep it. He wasn't going to. And look at all the SH that Trump has received from all these foreign countries for pay-to-play BS. Because just like the Switzerland gave him that Rolex, that desk clock that was worth Lord knows how much, and that personalized gold bar that was worth Lord knows how much, and then he brought down the tariffs. That's why we have the emoluments clause, to avoid that situation. But is the media up in arms about this? No. Would they have been if Obama had pulled this stunt? Oh, absolutely, 100%. We never would hear the end of it. That's what I mean. We become so desensitized to this, and just making it normal, it's just insane. And before this gets to be a freaking half an hour, I'm so sorry, but there was a lot of stuff to talk about today. I'm going to go to bed, because now I'm all worked up, and it's going to be hard to fall asleep. But that was the news for today. I'll have more for you tomorrow. As always, thank you for watching, and if you want to leave a like, I would appreciate it. And you all have a good night out there.